Welcome to the Legacy Through Land podcast, where we're dedicated to empowering you on your journey to land ownership and management. I'm Tyler Markham, your host, and each week we'll dive deep into the world of land investing, management strategies, and the transformative experiences tied to owning your very own piece of dream dirt. With our expert guests, inspiring stories, and actionable advice, we're committed to helping you become a better land manager, hone your investing skills, and start building your family's legacy through land. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. We hope you'll enjoy. What is up, my people? It has been a fun run. I'm scared to say this one because it's episode 23 and that's bad luck, but really good episode here. I'm excited for you guys to get to hear from one of my newer friends, Mr. Aaron Miller, big time realtor with Kaufman Realty and Auctions up in the northeastern Ohio sector. But before we jump into that, just an update here. We're all praying for rain, been food plotting and just praying for rain. I've sat on the sidelines on a few plots, just knowing it's very dangerous to put seed in the ground without any rain. But fortunately, I've been able to no-till drill everything I've done. I haven't even used a tiller this year. So I've been very fortunate in that aspect. I put in 8 acres yesterday at my Jackson home farm. And just praying for rain. So if you guys know a rain dance, please let me know of that. But we sold a property last week, one of the parcels down in Meigs. It actually all closed, and then we're under contract on the last parcel on this big farm we had in Meigs. And we've bought some farms, but I just cannot tell you enough. If you keep listening to the podcast, we have some really good properties that are still available that would be impeccable opportunities for you to buy and hunt this fall. We've got a lot of big bucks on these properties. So if you're not a hunter, cool. Go check out some of the stuff I've got. I've got some properties that fit the avatar of somebody just looking to do homesteading or mini farm or build your forever home. I've got the avatar, honestly, for anything to do with the outdoors, not just hunting. We've got a piece for you. So enough about that. It is just business as normal over here. No incredible highs and no incredible lows. As a college football fan, though, I will tell you right now, this will go out after the Texas and Ohio State game has already concluded, but I am fearfully excited that my Buckeyes are going to start their run for a back-to-back natty, and they're going to beat them Longhorns horns down Saturday in a close one. I won't be there. I'll be with my family out of town, diligently watching, but you heard it first. Julian saying is going to be what everybody is saying he going to be. That's all. If I have to eat crow, you guys will see it. Enough of that. Let's jump into Mr. Aaron Miller. This one's a good one. You're going to learn some stuff about auctions and land and even Amish culture. All right. It is a Thursday at the time of this recording. I'm pretty excited about this one. I don't know that I'll ever not be excited about a guest, because if I'm not excited about them, probably won't have them. So thank you, Aaron, for being on with us today. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. Very well. Yes. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you being on here. I'll tell you, if you're friends with Aaron, you guys already know it. He posts like 17 times a day about all the things he's selling and all the things he's got coming up and all the properties he's got available and all the cool stuff he's doing. And pretty sure I see his, I want to say son or relative posting as well. So it's, he does a much better job of staying relevant on social media. And I have a feeling he's got a gentleman there in the office helping him. I got a feeling that guy helps him a little more than I had thought that was just all Aaron, but maybe the cat's out of the bag. He's got some help. But let's back into this. We're going to have some fun with a realtor who, if he doesn't tell you himself, I will tell you, is playing lots of ball in the land game, sells houses. I think you sell anything that qualifies as real estate, if I'm right.
That's right. Yep.
So back into this with us. You're 21 years old. You've got 40 years of experience in this. You have 7 master's degrees, and now you're somehow in real estate. So tell us the real story of who Aaron Miller is. Where do you reside? Where is home? Let's back into how in the world you got into this space.
Wow. Well, that is, man, that's a story. So let's see. Right now, I currently reside about 10 miles west of Millersburg, close to a little town called Welcome, which it's just a crossroad. It's a little, just a little burg. It's got a church and a graveyard, obviously, a cemetery. And then just right up the road from there, about a mile, my wife and I own 10 acres, and we got a home, shop. Got a place we bought back in 2013 for a lot less than what it's worth today. Just the natural increase in price has been amazing out in our neck of the woods, which it's called Western Holmes County, and there's a real push right now out into that area, which I guess all over Ohio, there's a push for anything that's connected to dirt. So, which is a good thing for both of us, definitely.
Sure. So let me make sure I heard you right. The town you live in is called Welcome.
Yeah, it's
that's awesome.
You can't even call it a town. I mean, it's like you blink and you went through Welcome. So, yeah.
But you feel welcome there.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely welcome you. I got a property I'm selling here in September 4th. And you can be my neighbor. So imagine that. I got a log home. I got a dream log home on 7 acres coming up September 4th. So,
very, very welcoming environment.
There you go. Pardon the pun, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh man.
That's awesome.
But tracking back a little bit, I was born and raised Amish in a little town called Mount Eaton. Which I don't know, many of you listeners, or I hope there's listeners out there who know where Mount Eaton is, but it's a little town in Wayne County. I don't know. It's a really happening place. There's a lot of activity there because of all the work crews and everything traveling through there. But I grew up about a mile out of there. I say Mount Eaton because it is significant in my story. Because back when I was 21, I purchased a sporting goods store from an elderly gentleman who I used to go into this little sports shop called Mount Eaton Sports Shop all the time, get my archery stuff, became friends with the owner. I was 21, newly married, and just, worked at Wayne Dalton, worked at a factory of all places, and just don't want to say I hated life, but I hated factory work.
I get it.
But I guess there's more to the story. So if you take it back to when I was 9 years old, I started with a lot of health problems. I've been an insulin-dependent diabetic since I'm 13. So I'm on the pump for roughly 38 years. Well, I got the pump in 2001, but I've been insulin-dependent since I'm 13 years old.
Wow.
And then at 15, I got my first pacemaker. I have a rare genetic heart problem that just keeps it. It's a long story. It's called long QT syndrome, which I won't go into a lot of details for that. But anyway, I had to get a pacemaker put in. And then during that period of time, I wasn't very healthy. And so I would go over to Mount Eaton and hang out at this sports shop. Well, I got to be really good friends with the owner and the owner's son who were running it at the time. And then after that, met my wife, got married, and now I'm 21, 22 years old, and I'm still going to this sports shop. By now, my health problems have kind of straightened up, but I'm looking for direction or whatever. And I used to hang out there all the time. Well, he approached me about buying the sporting goods store, and I did. I ended up buying it. Without any money, mind you, but that's a whole nother story. But anyway.
I love where this is going. I love it.
So I started running that sporting goods store, and that was really my first connection to the sporting goods industry, the hunting part of it, because all these guys would come through Mount Eaton, stop in on their way to their hunting farm, pick up supplies. It was a small retail store, but did pretty good. There's a lot of story in that, just didn't know how to manage a business, kind of went into it just greener than grass and just made an absolute mess out of things, but then was always able to kind of cleaned it up in the end. And the family, the Yoder family who sold me the sporting goods store, were very accommodating. And like, I only had payments to the seller the last 6 months of the year when I was super busy. And so that was really the introduction to the fact that many, many, many people that I knew, clients that I still have today, would come into that sports shop and buy their archery equipment, buy their fishing stuff, and then travel on down the road. And I got to know a lot of course, I was Amish at the time, so there was a lot of Amish connection coming in there. You know, we'd talk and I'd help them out with all that. During that period of time, my one of my best friends, who I've been friends with since I'm 7, his name is Vern Shetler. He owned a sawmill, or was part owner of a sawmill. And he would come in there during the day and sit there and watch me take care of clients, and he just didn't have something to do every day. So he would come in there and he'd sit there and he'd say, "Man, dude, you should be a timber buyer. Man, you could do well being a timber buyer." Well, fast forward a few years, and during that time, my dad worked for me. He did the custom archery, the arrows and stuff like that. And he then, in 2007, he passed on from a chronic lung disease. So that was a pretty tough spot. Like, he was working for me. And then during that period of time, my 14-year-old nephew, Lewis Weaver, he was working for me, and he passed away unexpectedly from the same heart problem that I had several years later. So there was a lot of moving parts and pieces. And during that period of time, there was just a lot going on. We were having our children. Our 3 oldest boys were born, Eric, Brian, and Michael. And I had some, after hours to be in the sporting goods store. It was time that I had a client come in who expressed interest in buying me out. And he did. Ultimately, he ended up buying me out. And that was in 2006, I believe. Some of these dates are a little fuzzy.
And I was going to ask you if you knew about when you bought it. How long do you think you owned
1998.
Okay.
I bought it because our oldest son, Brian, our second oldest son, Brian, turned 2, I think. Yeah, he's in 98. So he was 2.
Okay.
And then I sold it in 04 and in 06. And then I ran it for 2 years for the guy who bought it from me.
Okay.
And there was just a lot of stuff going on. I worked for a salary then, and it was okay. But then finally he decided he wanted to run it. It's a long story, but he ended up, a year after I was out, he shut it down and sold out, liquidated, whatever. But saying that during that period of time, this Vern Shetler kept saying, "Hey, you ought to be a timber buyer." Well, guess what? All of a sudden, I needed a job, and I'm like, "Dude, let me come buy timber for you." So his brother owned a big sawmill, and he helped run it. And through connections, I got hired as a timber buyer with absolutely zero knowledge on trees, mind you. And so I'm good friends with Madison Raver. And
I was going to say, well, this sounds interesting already. I hear some commonalities here. I want to pause you 1 second, Aaron. You are giving so many good nuggets here. Backing up, the one that I immediately resonate with, because you have no idea how ironically similar your story and my young adult tenure are, because I was offered to buy a sporting goods store as well from a friend of mine when I was young, at about the age you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And I didn't do it, and I wished I had. I didn't do it. He was even offering to owner finance it to me. He was offering to help with the inventory. I mean, it was like a sweetheart deal. I just couldn't see the forest for the trees. I didn't do it. And something you said that I've already picked up on, I already know my guests that like me will know what I'm about to say, is you bought something and you mentioned you didn't have the money to buy it, but you bought it. So you found a way. is what I'm hearing. You found a way to make it work. And I heard also that you found a way to make it work by doing creative financing with the then owners who would only charge you payments when the season was good. Like, for someone who sits on the sidelines, Aaron, you have to hear what you just said. Like, there are people that are listening right now that will literally sit on the sidelines their entire life because they'll say, well, A, I don't have the money to do it. B, I can't make the payments every month because the business is cyclical. C, you know, make all these things up. And you navigated every part of that to make that happen, to create opportunity for yourself. You know, the thing that I cannot get past with anyone's story that I talk with, anyone's story, and it doesn't matter about land. You know, we talk about land on here, but it doesn't matter in life. Any great thing that you would spend time to talk to someone about and how it went, it all starts with hard work. It all starts with someone taking a risk. It all starts with someone having to figure it out. It all starts with, you know, not having it figured out. And there's so many people that I know are hearing this saying, you know what? I've heard it enough. I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? Or I'm going to put my foot in the water, because so many people don't. They just won't. And here you said at young age, you didn't have any skills in business. You didn't even know what you were doing. You didn't have a way to buy it.
I had one thing going for me, and that is I knew how to sell something.
I was getting ready to say,
really matter.
This is mine too. Me too. We can talk.
It didn't really matter, like, you know, what it was. I could sell it, and that's been, you know, my I guess, for lack of better terms, my mouth has been a blessing to, you know,
we have the gift of gab, you know.
Yeah, it is, but then there's been times where I'm like, oh my goodness, what in the world was I thinking?
I have to apologize 5 times a week, and I get two I
usually end up saying the thing, thinking about, you know, something and saying it, and then later I'm like, what in the world was I thinking? So the people that know me know that I wear my emotions right out here. And you're gonna know what I think about things, even if it doesn't, you know, maybe it's not politically correct or whatever. But
I understand. Yeah. So I want to keep you going. You've got these, you got your creative juices flowing. So pick up. Sounds like we're about to enter season 2 of you figuring it out. Okay. You're figuring it out. You just said you had no experience at buying timber.
Yeah. If I could add one thing to the sporting goods story of my life, I met a lot of really influential people that came into my life during that time, in a time when I was really struggling. I was struggling with pornography, and I was just personally, as a dad, as a husband, I was going through some tough times, and I'm just being vulnerable here to tell you that I was, and there was people that came into my life in that sporting goods store that I am still just friends with today, and they had a tremendous impact on my life. One of them, and I'll name him, I don't know if you'll ever see the podcast. But his name is Brian Troyer, and he's been a dear friend to me, and he spoke life into me when I needed it the most. And I'll never forget, like, Vern Shetler and Brian Troyer and those guys coming into the store and just encouraging me. Because the truth of the matter was, the sporting goods business was really tough. And there would be years when I just robbed Peter to pay Paul, you know, and I racked up some credit card debt, and which is a whole nother story. But I sold it. I did not make any money when I sold it. And I still owed this family money that I had promised to them. And thankfully, through the grace of God, I was able to pay that debt off and move forward in a positive way, even though some people told me I should file bankruptcy, which I didn't. I didn't think that was the right thing to do. And I didn't. I kept going. And I don't know. I think I'm glad I didn't, because ironically enough, and I'll get to it later in the story, but the grandson of the person that I purchased this sporting goods store from is Stevie Yoder, who is my brother-in-law and a co-agent at Kaufman Realty and sells the ever-living snot out of real estate. I mean, and so Isn't that ironic? Like Ray Yoder Sr. was the original owner. Ray Yoder Jr. is Stevie's dad. And those are the people that I dealt with buying this sporting goods store. Now, fast forward 20 years. Now he's my brother-in-law, married to my wife's sister, and he's a co-agent here at the Kidron office. Like, you can't make some of this stuff up.
God is
the
so good.
The storylines are amazing, but God has just richly blessed us through through that and through relationships. But anyway, I should probably, and anytime you want to cut in and talk about things, do that, because when I start running my mouth, I get I want
you to keep your train of thought. I love doing this.
My wife has mentioned a few times that I may or may not be a little bit dominating at times.
Well, Aaron, you and I in a room, there's not enough space for us both, so you're just fine.
I know.
Here's what I'll tell you I so resonate with, and I want you to continue on your story here. I love building this foundation to kind of where you're at today. I cannot tell you how intimately I can resonate with some of that, because when I made some career changes and I used to flip houses, and we had a couple houses that I couldn't sell. When we moved to Ohio, I had quit flipping houses. I was just done with it. I was tired. And we had a couple houses that just sat on the market. They were great products. They just had stagnated because they'd been on the market forever. And you well know how that goes, that there can be nothing wrong with the product. Just it's no longer a good deal. Price kept dropping. Price kept dropping. It wasn't selling. I finally auctioned one of these houses. And I lost over $80,000 in that one auction. Lost. And by the grace of God, and you can, this is why I'm telling you I can resonate with you. I was able to pay that debt. I was able to build enough runway through selling land that I was able to pay that debt off. We knew that Band-Aid was going to get ripped, but I don't know how many people in their early 30s running their own business, 3 kids, move their family, take some of the risk that we did, to then have to go drag a boat anchor and lose $80,000 and pay that back. That was just one of the crazy journeys. I built a mobile home park in 2018 and sold it for net zero as well, after working that thing like crazy and building it from the ground up. And we had 90 campers in there with pipeliners and, people tearing stuff up. And so believe me, Aaron, everything you're saying, just let it rip, dude, because I'm with you. I know what that stuff feels like. So keep going here. You know nothing about trees, but you become a timber buyer. I'm already in. Let's go.
So a company by the name of United Hardwoods, owned by Nelson Mast, Norm Shetler, and Vern Shetler. They, like Norm and Nell, owned it, and Vern was supplying the logs. And so I went to work for them in 2007. Yeah, 2007 or latter, I don't know, 2006, 2007. It doesn't matter. But I went to work for them. Very green, very, uneducated. I just knew how to sell stuff. So now and Madison Rayburn and I, we talk about it. And he's like, oh my goodness. And I'm like, yeah, I know. It was pretty bad. That first year, oh my word. I guarantee you my cutters, like I would, get a piece under contract and move my cutters in, and I'd be like, yeah, you need to take the logs up through there. And they're like, what are you talking about? We can't cross this, or we can't get through here. And no, I promise you, they were probably less than impressed. But I got a funny story that we still laugh about. Is we used to hunt down close to a little town called Blissfield. And when I went to work for Nelson and Norman, Nelson is the one that trained me. And one of the first days that I went with him, the plan was for me to go with him for every day for 6 weeks and just learn about the industry and learn how to approximately measure and all that stuff and identify trees. So I'm like, Nelson, I know where there's some really nice red oak at. He goes, okay, where's this at? I said, well, down where we hunt. So I called up the landowner and asked him if we could go look at him. He's like, sure, I've been thinking about harvesting my timber. So off we go, and we get there, and we walk back through this valley. And I can still take you to the spot. And we're walking through there, and Nelson goes, where's the red oak? And I'm like, oh, right here. He goes, these are all poplar.
So I thought you were getting ready to say cottonwood.
No, I did not know the difference between a poplar and a red oak or whatever. But he taught me a lot of things in those first 6 months, and I went out on my own. Of course, I was still Amish at the time, so I had a guy driving me, and we'd go out, and I landed a lot of deals in that first year. Bought some with education, some whatever. I did a lot of, I did the thing. I bought a lot of 18 inches point of cut, and it is what it is, but it was the way that we were operating at the time. Yeah. And a lot of times I'd take Nelson out if there was nice timber there, and he'd help me appraise it and get me started in that first year. But that's what really got me into the industry, and I can't say enough good things about Nelson Mast. He's been a lifelong friend. Him and his wife Amanda live over in Wilmot, and they have 3 kids, and just a great guy. In fact, I just went and looked at a property for him 2 days ago, and I'm going to be doing an online only auction for him, 42 acres coming up here in October. Awesome. So those are the friends that you kind of, he was my boss, but he was also a really good friend of mine. It helped me out of some tough financial spots. I was still trying to recover from the sporting good industry, trying to navigate through all that. And so that was my introduction to the timber world and really getting into okay, this piece of land. And then that's when the real wheels started turning. About 2-3 years into it, I was probably buying, I would say, I don't know, did I average 1,000 to 2,000 acres a year? Man, it depends. Some years it was a lot more, but I would buy real estate for Nelson, and we would cut the timber, resell the land, or turn around and resell the real estate with the timber attached. And I started earning salary plus commission off of that, which I know today, that's you're technically by the letter of the law, that's oh, you're acting like a realtor and you don't have a realtor's license. Well, whatever. That was then, this is now.
Well, don't worry, Aaron. I hate realtors, so you're fine. All my realtor friends know I mean what I mean. They know what I'm saying. I don't like the bad ones. The good ones I love. So
yeah. No, and then so then started getting into more and more land, whatever you call it, land flipping or whatever. We would buy it, and probably about 2014 and then we went through a really 08, 09, the slump. Yeah. And times were really tough, and boy, it's a long story, but the owner, the 50% owner, was Norm Shetler. He was going through some personal crisis at the time. He sold me his shares. All of a sudden I became part owner of United Hardwoods.
Got ya.
And then a year or two later, it wasn't working out, so I sold my share back to Nelson, and he kept me on as a manager, timber buyer, whatever you want to call it, land buyer. And so on we go through 12, through 13, through 14. The sawmill's doing good, but it was having its moments. Vern Shetler, by the way, is still working at United Hardwoods. He's running the yard. I'm running outside timber sales and managing that. And Nell's the overseer over the whole thing. And then in about 14 or 15, I started thinking about, possibly getting my realtor's license, but I pushed it off. And I should say that during that time, we had a lot of really, really, really good times. The whole company would go to Kentucky Lake fishing. We just had a really, really good run there where we did business together. We did life together, like Nelson and his family, Vern and his family. I mean, we did life together. We were really close as a family and as a business. And in 2013, my wife and I left the Amish church, which was a whole journey in itself. But we were living in Mount Eaton, and we decided that, well, I shouldn't say we. I decided that we were going to leave the Amish church. And she was okay with it, but you want to say something?
I sure do.
Okay.
Everyone pretend I went offline here, but we can cut this if we need to, but I'm incredibly curious, Aaron. Are you willing to talk through that? I mean,
yeah.
So there's a guy I watch. We'll do a little bit of sidebar here, Aaron. There's a guy I watch that has a really famous YouTube channel. If you've never watched it, I'll turn you on to this guy. I believe his name is Peter Santora.
Yeah, I've watched him. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, he did this Amish, Mount Hope. He drove around with the guy.
Yep,
I watched every second of it. I've watched it multiple times, sent it to my family. We go to Mount Hope to auctions every year. Well, I only know enough about the Amish to be dangerous. Of course, you know that there's people in our industry that we both know, mutual friends, all that. Like, I only know enough to be dangerous. And the last thing I would say, and I'll shut up here, is I've got a cousin who's become really close to a Mennonite and Amish community. And so there's an enormous amount of curiosity for me, but like I can really respect, and I actually think the Amish, quote unquote, I think the Amish community has a lot more right than they do wrong in today's world. I really do.
Oh, for sure.
I'm envious of their peace and the tranquility. And when we go up to those auctions and we just see the peace, like you can feel it. And I think there's a lot more they have right than wrong. So anyways, I'm just incredibly curious, Aaron. We can cut all this nosy's the wrong word. I'm curious, what did that look like? And whatever you'd be willing to share.
Yeah, that is something that, it's pretty near and dear to my heart, I guess. But the first thing I want to say is, like, growing up Amish, and so we were Amish until my wife and we were both 38 years old. Wow. So we married at 21. So we basically were 17 years into marriage. Our oldest son was 15. And I have always kind of struggled with kind of adapting to everything in the Amish church, like by way of the standards and things like that. And I want to say this, like, my brothers are both Amish. I have Amish nephews, nieces, and they are near and dear to me. And I mean, we go to Amish weddings. We do life with them. And I'm not saying that at all in any negative way. But for me, it was just personally, it really, really became evident to me that we wanted something else in life besides that. When I was like constantly battling with the driver situation for my timber buying, like I had good people working for me, but it was just a thing, and I wanted to drive. And that, in a nutshell, is kind of why we left the Amish. Spiritually, I am more, I guess you would say, matured in my spiritual life now than I was back then. But that is also due to the fact that I am more invested in what I'm doing now as far as church life. And I take that blame on myself. Like, I could have been more involved than I was, but it was something that we kind of struggled with for some time. We attended a New Order Christian Fellowship Church for the last 6 years. We were Amish, a lot more progressive, a lot more liberal, so to speak. We had electric in our house. We had stuff like that we had that we didn't have when we attended the Old Order Amish church, the church that we grew up in. So when we left that and went to a Mennonite church, it wasn't that much different except for the fact that we drove cars. Yeah. That was the biggest difference. So if I could sum that all up would
you say you're Mennonite today, Aaron?
Yeah, we go to Gospel Haven Mennonite Church in Benton.
Okay.
And I will say this, first of all, we're born again believers.
Amen.
Following Jesus to the cross, and his resurrected body is what, the cross and the resurrected finished work of the cross is what we've first of all follow. After that, we do life like it's a lifestyle. It's like, we do attend, or we are members there at Gospel Haven Mennonite Church in Benton. It's a large 450 people show up every Sunday, but there's a lot of different walks of life there at Gospel Haven too. And it's not what I would consider a conservative Mennonite church. Like more conservative would be like a lot of Mennonite churches have, no TV, things like that in the house. And we've got television and things like that. So,
okay.
But it's more of a lifestyle, and we enjoy going to church there. We've got, a whole group of, I don't know, there's probably 12 to 15 couples that are like right at our age group. We go camping, we do life together. So we do enjoy that. So, but I'll say that, I mean, the Amish way of life taught me a lot of really, really good things, relationships, just how to do life.
Yeah.
Now, again, like you said, there are things that they want to, change and do better as well as any other sect or walk of life. So, yeah, that's kind of what I have to say about that. But
that's amazing. I appreciate you being honest, man. I really do. It's obviously I have no experience with Amish other than what we've learned from the outside looking in. And so, watching that documentary from that Peter Santora was just really, eye opening. And I don't know enough to know, like, hearing you talk, Aaron, what I've always discerned from my minimal knowledge of Amish culture is you said, you go to this church and it seems like kind of everything works south from the church. The church is a group. It's a body. It's a set of beliefs or belonging or legal bumper strips, whatever you want to call it. It seems like everything goes south from the church that you would, and I would say, probably butcher, but the church you subscribe to, however you want to say that. Is that kind of the truth of how
that is because like an Amish church in Kidron, where I'm at right now, might have a different view on certain things than an Amish church in Charn, Ohio.
Okay. And is this almost like a Methodist versus Baptist or no?
Well, no, just a different on different things on like what
theology.
Well, not so much theology as just like, for example, like e-bikes are a big thing through here.
Yep.
And there are still some Amish churches that don't allow e-bikes. So that's just an example. Some people, if you are in a certain area, you can drive an e-bike, no problem. But if you live in another area, you're not driving an e-bike because they're not allowed. Well, believe it or not, that has a big impact when we sell properties on which church district they're in.
Yeah.
So it's like that. And I think that's where I struggled the most as an Amish guy, was like, okay, so for the longest time, this was a wrong thing to do. But now things have progressed, and 5 years later, it's okay to do that after all. And I'm like, well, the Bible didn't change. What changed?
That's what I was going to say is, I mean, I hate for this. I can't think of a better way to say this. So if I'm butchering it, please, anyone forgive me. But it sounds legalistic to a degree.
It is.
That's what I would worry about with. If we're not properly aligned, and you said it earlier, but okay, so we believe that Jesus died and rose again, and we believe that it was so significant that it changed the course of time, and we believe that he is the only way, truth, and the life. We believe he's the only path to heaven. We believe he did rise again. Okay, so when you get lateral of that, because I go to a non-denominational church, like honestly, Aaron, I go to one of the most. Like, I play drums at my church. I toured as a drummer in a Christian band. Like, you probably would never see the drums in your church, I'm guessing. So it's just interesting to me because, like you just said, the Bible didn't change. But like, I used to go to a church where they would never let the drums be in a church, but yet it says in the Bible to praise him with cymbals and clashing of cymbals. So it's like we're picking and choosing. And what I don't know about the Amish culture, or sector or space or whatever better word there is. I didn't realize that there is so much latitude in what I would call legalism. I don't know how else to say it. I didn't know that there was so much latitude. Like you just said, these think it's okay to have an e-bike. These don't. Like, that's hard for me to understand, because who is discerning and where is the
Yeah,
discernment
yeah.
coming from to
See,
say we're going to adopt this set of beliefs?
and that's the difference between like you coming from your viewpoint and me looking from the inside out, or well, I'm not on the inside anymore, but
The outside in.
it's yeah, the outside in. But see, I can actually, I don't want to try to say that there's a reason they do it that way, but I know the backstory to it, and I kind of understand in a way why they do that. I just don't want to be a part of it. That's all.
Yeah.
So,
well,
and
it goes back to this statement that as kids and as a young adult, I always heard, we can agree to disagree. And it's pretty rare that people actually agree to disagree. But I still maintain, even through all of this, I still maintain, and I would bet you do as well, there's a lot more right in that community than there is wrong. And there's a lot more wrong out here than right.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll say this to kind of finish that up. No matter what circle of Amish community, Mennonite community that you are a part of in this community, if something goes wrong, a tragedy, a fire, a loss of a loved one, something, you cannot imagine how many people show up.
Yep.
How many people show up and show out, and how much money can come in to help that widow pay for her mortgage, that the husband died from cancer, and how much money comes in, and like these massive benefit auctions that we have in this area.
Yep.
Like this is the most unique place to live in the entire world, I am convinced, because everything that matters on Sunday does not matter when things, like, I shouldn't say just on Sunday, it matters during the week too, but everything that matters to keep people kind of gets completely laid down if there's somebody hurting. Yeah. And that is something that I've traveled all over Ohio. And there's big communities like this in Lancaster and around the world. But I mean, Holmes County, man, it is unique. And I'm super blessed to be a part of it. I really am.
That's awesome. I mean, that is so awesome to have that rounded perspective.
It's a great place to raise a family, although there are challenges right with it, because I mean, there's people in this community that feel if they don't have a status or a high paying job or whatever, they just feel like, oh, we're just a nobody and nobody know. And that's just a victim mentality, I call it, or whatever. Yep. So, but anyway, I hope that.
No, I really appreciate it. I really do.
Yeah.
I appreciate you being vulnerable. I am sure there's tons of listeners that would have the equal curiosity to, and I think it's healthy. It's just so funny. At our church, we're in a series right now that's called At the Movies. And I can't tell you how non-denominational this series is, because our pastor will take a movie that is obviously a completely secular movie, and we use it as the baseline and a storyline for how we can use this as a story in the Bible. And it's amazing. And what he's doing next week, he's doing, so this At the Movies, they pick a series, but next week, his newest series is called Wrestling with God, and how it is okay to wrestle with and have the curiosity of and wrestle with your faith. Because Aaron, I'd probably argue and submit that in that wrestling with your faith was where you found peace to make the decision that you did. And how taboo we've made it in faith and in our culture in faith that we should wrestle with God. We've made that like taboo. You're clearly not a person of faith, or you need to fix your faith, or you're not strong enough in your faith if you have questions. How dare you have questions? And we're about to start a series on why that is healthy. Why you should have, because you can't own your faith. You can't own it
until you believe in it.
Correct.
I cannot tell you that you need to be convicted to live a certain way unless you believe it right in here.
Yep.
And that has been like a real, I guess, a joy for me to see the older we get, the older our kids get. And I should just right now, I guess, should I introduce my family and,
Let's go.
and talk?
I want to give you a quote too, Aaron. You're going to like this. My pastor says all the time, you don't have to believe to belong, but you have to belong to believe.
Nice.
I think of that all the time of thinking of people that aren't people of faith that we interact with day to day, that you don't have to believe to belong, but you have to belong to believe. You do. And it's just, I think of that all the time. But anyways, yes, Aaron, if you guys haven't seen Aaron's Facebook, he got a big family. So he kept that Amish tradition for a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about your 17 kids and 80 grandkids.
Yeah, we got to 6 kids, and I'm like, we're just getting warmed up. And my wife is like, so, but anyway, no. We got married in 1996, and we had our first child, 95, I'm sorry. In 95, we got married. In 1996, we had Eric.
Okay.
So our oldest son's name is Eric Aaron. He is married to Kim Troyer. They have, she's Miller now, but they have 3 beautiful grandchildren for us. Malik is 5, and Cash is 4. And little Lenny is 1. Okay. And they live close to Millersburg. He has his own concrete crew. He's got Mudco Concrete. And he's got just a small crew. It's himself and one other guy. And then our youngest son, Jesse, works for him. Okay. And just recently, our one of my nephews, which would be Eric's first cousin, is 15 or 16, Luke, and he just started helping out with this concrete. He does a lot of smaller jobs, small patios, perfect for 3-4-man crews. So that's his life. They live in Millersburg. And if I can add one more thing about him, he's just unique. He's got dogs. And when I say dogs, I mean hounds. He started when I gave him a rabbit hound back when he was like 12 or 13, and he went out and he killed like 30 rabbits one year by himself with a little 410 and 1 beagle. Well, that grew into, he's got like 20 hounds right now. He's got coyote dogs and bear dogs, and he chases bear in West Virginia, and he's actually in the middle of, next weekend is opening weekend of bear season. So him and Kim and the boys are going to go down. We're going to watch Lenny for him. Wow. But they're going to go bear hunting. And last year he was down in West Virginia for like 3-4 weeks. And I mean, he'd come home in between, but he treat a bunch. He's a bear hunting nut is what he is.
Here's what I'm worried about, Aaron. If you go this deep with every one of your kids, I don't know that we'll be on here any shorter than 7 p.m. How do you do that? That's amazing.
So anyway, but he's got the concrete crew, and he's the hunter. He's a coyote and bear hunter.
So rather large family tree, I'm going to guess.
Yep. And
6 kids. Eric first.
Next is Brian John. He's married to Anna, and they've got 2 little boys. Dimitri's 6, and Dominic is 5. And he owns and operates a company called Powerline Diesels, where they work on any kind of diesel, or they work on gas vehicles too, but small company.
And I'm keeping track here. 5 grandkids we've announced so far.
Yep.
Tabs.
I got 5 grandkids.
Oh,
yep.
Man.
I got 6.
Okay.
6 total.
I was getting ready to say, I was going to keep tabs on if we got to 32 or not. So
no. Yeah. So Brian has this business close to Charm, or south of Berlin. He's got Powerline Diesel, and he's a diesel genius. Like, he works on diesels, he chips them, he modifies them, he does the thing, So he works on he does brakes and all that. They own a piece of land in close to Millersburg, and they're planning on building here in the next year or 2.
Okay.
So next we have Michael, and he just walked by the door here and looked in like he's expecting some big shout out. But anyway,
Michael Miller, let's go. Yeah.
Michael is actually, he's married to Cheryl Kine, and they have 1 son called Bennett. And Bennett is not 1. He's like months,
So
something like that.
that's the sixth grandkid we
That
got.
is the sixth one.
Hold on, you said Kime.
Yeah, he's married to he's
Kime
married
lumber?
to a Kime.
Kime lumber?
What's that?
Is that
No.
Okay.
No, Kime Concrete.
Okay.
Her dad's name is Ruben and his brother Robert, and they've got a big concrete company called Kime Concrete. So Michael, about 3 years ago, he was doing some construction work, and I was just losing my mind with all these real estate deals, and I hired him to come work for me full time. And yes, we'll talk about him when we get into the real estate part of this, which I'm thinking to myself, my goodness, I need to speed up here. We're going to have a 3-hour podcast.
It's your fault, not mine.
So next we have Amanda. Amanda, Milena, and Jesse are still at home. Amanda's 21, and she works for Brian at Powerline Diesel and does all his secretary work and helps order parts. And she's just a blessing to have around, my oldest daughter. And great with babysitting the nieces and nephews. And we love her dearly. Next, we have Milena. Milena is 20, and she works at a local restaurant as a waitress. And about a year and a month ago, she was diagnosed with diabetes. So that was a big step.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Aaron. Your genetic problem, you know.
Yep. I know. That's what she told me. Thanks, Dad. And she's probably the closest thing to the female version of me, because she's pretty handy with her words, and she can get after it.
She can sass a tree off, huh?
She can sass it, yeah.
Okay.
So she's great also. She does a lot of babysitting, loves to line dance, and is just a joy to have around there. And last, but certainly not least, is Jesse. And Jesse's 16 and just thinks that most of the world kind of revolves around him right now. I mean, it's like we're all in Jesse's world, and you know, he's in it. We're just around him. So, but no, he's 16. He works for Eric, my oldest son.
Okay.
So Jesse works for Eric. Amanda works for Brian, and Michael works for me. So to say we keep it in the family is kind of an understatement. But Jesse is, a great kid, is super responsible, goes and puts down concrete every day, and just, we love him. He's been a great help around the property, although, I don't know, last 6 months, it's a little harder to get him to do it, but boy, when he gets to it, he can really work up a storm. So great kid. We love him dearly.
So let me ask you this before we segue into what in the world you do today, because I know what Aaron does, but I want to give him a chance to kind of talk through some of this. But what I'm curious of is, when you made the decision, and I if I fumble these words, please forgive me, but if you call it making the decision to leave the Amish church, was this before you guys had any kids, or did you?
Oh, goodness. No, Eric was 15.
That's what I was going to say. So the question now is anyone in your family south of you Amish?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's what I was curious of. I was curious of.
No, that's
how that.
And that
work.
was one thing. I mean, the whole family was like, they all wanted to leave the Amish, or maybe the youngest didn't know, but it was more like that. So, but I've kind of saved the best for last. That's the entire family, and now we need to talk about my wife a little bit, and I might tear up a little bit when I talk about her, but it's like I met her. We were both avid trail riders, like we rode horses, and I met her when I was 18 and she was 17 on a trail ride close to Mount Hope, and we dated. At that time, I was driving a truck. I drove a truck from like 18 to 20. And then I became a member of the Amish church. We were dating at that time. We got baptized in the Amish church. And then we got married at 21. And her name is Marie Miller, or it was Yoder at the time. And she grew up on a farm. She's the oldest. She was a farm girl, used to just working hard. And I was a city slicker. I was the youngest. Like, we had no business even hanging out together. But guess what? We
Yep.
fell in love and we got married. And to say that we've been blessed tremendously is like an understatement. She is, believe it or not, she doesn't talk as much as I do, which is kind of
I have
understandable.
the same thing. I have the same
Yeah,
on
but
my side.
she's more of an introvert, but her strongest attribute is she's just like she just is unwavering. She does not get flustered, and she's there to calm me down and to say, you know what? It's okay. This is, you lost a big deal here, but it'll be okay. More will come, and you need to just calm down, and you need to go golfing. No, actually, she does say that sometimes, but not
Nice.
very often.
Nice.
So, no, we've been married over 30 years now, and just can't thank God for her every day. Like she's a real blessing and a great grandma, does a lot of babysitting, and then she's always canning and takes care of our property at home. Good grief, I'd be so lost without her. Like she does all the mows the lawn and just takes care of the whole property. So that's
So
been a super blessing.
let me ask it this way: you can take the girl out of the Amish, but you can't take the Amish out of the girl.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I would go up into Mount Hope and those areas, I mean, you would see the women doing this yard work that was unbelievably impeccable, like yard work.
Yep. Yep.
And I was joking, look at Molly. I'm like, you see what's going on over here.
That's her in a nutshell. No, she does a great job and really manages our family well.
Amazing.
So I provide, and she's a stay-at-home mom. So that's the way it's always been.
Yep.
So
Me as well, my man. I can't resonate enough. I'm the same way.
But
I'm so lucky.
That's like the 10-minute talk of our family. We love them dearly. We do get together, not as often as I wish we would, but we do get together and do some stuff. We'll have Sunday night cookouts, and we'll occasionally try to all get together to go on a vacation. But it's getting tougher and tougher because it's like, although the in-laws and, try to manage everything, but we're in a really, really, great spot. I mean, a great time in our lives. Like our kids are all old enough we just got back from Alaska. We were up there for 12 days. We went on a cruise for our 30th year anniversary. So that was great.
That's awesome.
Anyway, so
you've got me beat. I only have 3 kids, so now I don't feel as bad. You got me beat.
Yeah. So that's kind of the whole family thing. Now it's 2016. In 2016, some changes were happening in the sawmill industry. The sawmill was still being managed, but there was just stuff going on. And in 2017 of July, I decided I'm going to get my real estate license. And I can still remember where I was at. I was in Mount Eden at the gas station. I pulled off the side of the road, and I called Hondros College, and I ordered the online packet.
Yep.
And right afterwards, I called Nelson, my boss, and I told him, "Hey, I got my I'm going to try to be a realtor." And he was like, "Hey, man, whatever, just keep buying timber. I don't care if you do that on the side, just keep buying timber." So I studied. There's a lot of things that happened while I was studying. My daughter, the day I was going to take my test, my daughter Melena ended up in the hospital with a serious kidney problem and almost died. And so I had to push the test out a week, 2 weeks, or a month. I don't remember. But in November of 2017, I got my license.
Okay.
And 2 days after I got my license, now I've made the arrangements with Coffin Realty to, be under their brokerage. And I got the call from a good friend of mine, Jonai Miller, who lives local in the area and has got a bunch of land. And he called me and he's like, "Hey, I got this piece of land down in Licking County, close to, I can't think of the name, McKee Hill Road or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, he's like, "Would you want to sell it for me?" And I said, "I sure would." And so I I went down there. Tim Miller, another agent from our Kaufman office, he went along with me and helped me kind of look at it. You know, at that time we were doing all our own pictures. So we took pictures, we put it on the market, and Tim knew a guy that was looking for land, and he called him. And about 2 days after we had it on the market, I had it under contract.
Let's go.
And that was 8 years or close to 8 years ago. And by the grace of God, I've had something under contract ever since that day.
Yeah. So I want to ask you a couple questions during this transition. I'm going to play dumb, Aaron. I love being curious. You know, I've got a real estate coach who's a really good friend of mine. I shouldn't even say real estate coach. He's kind of an executive coach, person of faith, and he and I have become really good friends. And his company is called Curiosity Coach, and I've had him on the podcast. So go listen to the one with Carl Libba if you get a chance. But Carl talks, his company is called Get More Curious, getmorecurious.com. But he always talks about everything starts, with one great question. Like it's always, if you can be curious, you'll lead to some great places. So for me right now, I'm curious, why'd you pick Kaufman? Did you have a relationship? What did that look like? What was important to you in a brokerage? Kind of, how'd you make that decision?
I never really thought about going with any other brokerage because Kaufman Realty, when I was buying timber, occasionally we would use Kaufman Realty to sell a property for us.
Yep.
And I'm going to expose Kaufman a little bit here, and it might, whatever. But it seemed when we went into Southern Ohio and we bought a farm and we would maybe take the timber off and resell it, and we call in, or at that time, Anthony, our broker, was an agent. And maybe we'd call him, or we'd call Junior Miller or Kurt Yoder or whatever. And it just seemed like, hey, they were down to sell it and they got good results. But it seemed like they were like, it's okay down here. But, we prefer to be up in our comfortable circle. It seemed like there wasn't an agent that was just hot to trot to sell hunting land in wherever it was, Washington County or Noble County.
Right.
And that's not a negative. Simply put, they didn't have to.
Right.
Because it just wasn't like they were plenty busy and they were doing a crazy amount of work. And, maybe I'll get yelled at for saying that, but it's like,
I get it.
Yeah, it seemed like there was a niche that was almost somebody could really take a hold of. And that is what really brought me into Kaufman. And funny story, like the first time that I kind of talked with them about it, well, they knew I was in the timber industry, and I'm sure there was talk around, this Aaron guy, what's he going to do once he's a realtor? Is he going to do this or that, or, bring a bad vibe to the company or whatever? And they just kind of didn't say much. And then Vern Shedler, my friend from the sawmill, he advocated for me with Kaufman. And I don't know who he talked to, Kurt, Anthony, I don't know. But he just said, in my opinion, if Aaron gets his license, you want to have him working for you because he's going to work for somebody and you might be competing against him instead of helping him sell his farms.
Yeah.
And so a little bit later, we talked again and they were like, you know what? If you want to come on board, we're good to go. So that's really why I chose Kaufman. I think I might have talked with Real Estate Showcase or somebody, but I didn't really, I don't know. Kaufman was just always who I thought I would go with. And understand, in 2017, I think we had 60 agents.
Okay.
We've got over 100 now, or 90 some, or something like that. So there was room for a lot more. I don't know. There's still room for every agent that comes on board, but it's like I just felt comfortable going with them because I trusted them.
Makes sense. Makes
Yeah.
sense. So became an agent in, let's do the timeline here, 17. Is that what you said?
November of 2017. Yes.
Okay. Let's jump forward because I want to camp out for a little bit in kind of what the market looks like today. Obviously, to fast track what you've likely done in that time frame is sold a ton of stuff, helped buy a ton of stuff. You've gotten it, you guys have an auction arm, you have the listing arm. I don't know. Do you have other arms I don't know about? Mainly auction and listing at Kaufman.
That's pretty much it. Yeah. Listing and auction.
What keeps you busy today? I mean, I see your guys' stuff, you and I see Michael's stuff. I mean, but what's keeping you busy primarily today?
Well, a lot of just 2017 to 2018 was a lot of learning, the learning curve, and I was still selling timber, and now all of a sudden I'm getting super busy with hunting properties because I had all these sawmills that I was in touch with during these 12 years that I bought timber. They knew me, they trusted me, they called me to sell their properties, and I got super, super busy. So in 2018 of October, I told Nelson and the man to mass that, hey, I'm going to quit and go real estate full time. They were like, hey, we hate to see you go, but that's your decision. So I went full time in 2018. And truthfully, what keeps me busy today is the same thing that kept me busy back then. The phone rings and you've got an acquaintance that you've known for years, or a client that you did business with, or maybe it's a brand new guy that you've never met. And he's like, hey, I got 100 acres and I bought something else. My wife's mom's dad's brother's sister died and we're buying that farm and we need to sell this one. And what can we do? And so the first step is, you map out the property and you go out there, you meet the guy, you pick him up, you do whatever needs to be done to get on the property and start looking at it and start assessing, pulling comparables, talking with other agents that have done business in the area. Contrary to popular belief, like the Kaufman Realty, like all the agents, I mean, we compete ferociously against each other, but we all get along. Yeah. Like we're not.
How many agents are there? I don't even know. And what's their regional footprint? What's the footprint?
I think size? Close to 100 agents.
Okay, and where?
90 in the 90s for sure. Oh no.
Okay.
No, we've got Ohio, Florida, Illinois, West Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Florida,
and there's a couple of us.
One.
There's a couple people that are licensed in Pennsylvania as well.
Okay.
And so we've got an office in Kidron, Sugar Creek, Cambridge, New Philly, West Virginia, Illinois. We're opening a new one in Middlefield, and Mount Hope has a wing. That's 8. Millersburg, maybe I mentioned that. I don't know. There's 9 or 10 offices all over. But I'm out of the Kidron office.
Okay.
And I originally started in Millersburg. That's where I got my training. And then I connected with the Troyer Lehman team in Kidron. They started doing a lot of my auctions for me, helping me manage, which for me is like I'm doing better, but I'm not detailed. I'm more.
The best hunters are not detailed usually.
Yeah.
The best chasers.
I'm out there on the property. I'm doing that part of it a lot better than I'm doing the finer details sitting at my desk. I mean, I can take about one day of being behind my desk for a whole day, and then I'm like, just drag me out back. I'm just done. So, I do and that's what happened. So I would bring the deals in, and the Troyer Lehman team, Eli Troyer and Kevin Lehman had a lot more experience, both auctioneers, and they helped me chop up these properties, take them to auction, gave advice, did that. And then, so I moved from the Millersburg office to the Kidron office in 2012. 21, I believe. I think that's when it was. Yeah. And then that was during the COVID years, and it was just recreational property was just going like crazy. And in 2022, I sold 153 properties.
Whoa.
Pretty much by myself. I had a team around me, but I was pretty much managing everything myself. And that was the best year. That was a career year.
Yep.
So
I bet so, man.
So that was amazing. There was a lot of people getting into real estate, and people just I couldn't move fast enough. I would list 5 properties on Monday, put signs in the ground, and by the end of the week they were all under contract. I think one week I sold 7. I put 7 under contract in 1 week. That was like, it was crazy. That was 2022. But I mean, to circle back to the question of what keeps me busy today is I have expanded. Like I hired my son, Michael, to help with social media, to help with the signs. He puts up all my signs, does the brochures. We've got a full-time closing coordinator, obviously, here in the office. Kevin still peers over my shoulder on the auctions. Eli still helps me with my auctions, gives advice. It's a team. There's like 7 of us that meet every Monday morning. We have a production meeting and we go over every auction that we have on the schedule. And right now, between me and Eli and Kevin and Michael, I don't know, do we have 20, 25 auctions? Probably. Wow. I don't know. There's a, I shouldn't say 20, maybe 20. There's a lot coming up this fall. And so auctions are just so much more work goes into before the auction happens. Like a listing.
And let's do this. You're segueing into, I've got 2 questions that I think you and I can spend some time on that. You're segueing into one of them, which is what would you say to a prospective seller or buyer would be the difference in an auction versus a listing? Why auction or why listing? And also to frame the question for you, what percentage of your business do you think is auction? What percentage listing, if you had to guess? So let's camp out here. Why auction versus listing, or why listing versus auction? And what do you think is the percentage of the two?
So when I started, it was probably 70% listing, 30% auction.
Okay.
Maybe even 80-20 those first few years, because you couldn't list them fast enough and sell them. But as time moved on, and by the way, in March, one morning I woke up and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go get my auctioneer's license. And so I did that this year too. I'm also a licensed auctioneer. Not that I'm going to be up there on the stage, competing for a world champion, but, I can sell if I have to, and I have the legal auctioneer status in the state of Ohio, which is what I was after. So that, but that demographic has really shifted for me from the listing heavy with auction as an afterthought type thing to almost equal now. In fact, probably this year numbers are going to be probably 60-40 auctions over listings.
Okay.
And simply put, a few key factors go into that.
Okay.
A lot of it is location. Do I have the, I guess lack of better, the guts to take a property? You come to me and you're like, what's that?
The balls.
Yeah, there you go.
I said
because it. you come to me and you're like, I'm trusting you, Aaron, to sell my property. Mm-hmm. And now the weight is on my shoulders.
To deliver the goods.
What is the best way to take your property to the market to get the desired results with you, the client, in mind? What engine can we best use?
Yep.
And a lot of times it comes down to location and access.
Yep.
And anybody watching that is thinking about buying a piece of land, and you know this, Tyler, it's all about location and access, because if you've got 100 acres in Tuscarawas County, which is hotter than all get out right now with real estate. And, you can't sell it quick enough because there's everybody looking, but you've got 100 acres in Athens County, way back in off the road where you don't have a good access. I mean, the difference in those two properties is like, I wouldn't have the stones to take the Athens property to the market at auction, but I would in Tusk because I know my Amish buddies are going to be all over that thing because everybody's always looking for the next big deal.
Yeah. Okay.
So location and access, and then past history. What have we sold in the area? What have we done? Has it been a good area? Are there mineral rights included? Can we chop it 100 acres into 4 parcels? Is there Amish community living in the area where people might want to build to move their family there? What are the seller's expectations? Like, if I think the land is worth between 7,000 and 9,000 an acre, and the seller's like, well, I'm not going to sell under 12 an acre. Oh, I'm not going to take that to auction. I'm going to list it
And let it
to see if we can get the desired results.
Yep.
Because there's nothing worse than a failed auction.
Yep.
Oh, that kicks you in the shins.
Ask me how I know.
Yeah, I know you know. I know you know.
Multiple times.
I know you know. No, but that is just the worst feeling in the world because like you've answered the calls, you've put the signs up, you've done the title work, you've done everything right, and it just didn't work. And it is like, oh, that leads for some awkward conversations, and it's tough. It is tough.
Well, and if we got really, really into the weeds of this, Aaron, and so I told Aaron before we went online, just so everybody knows, I'm, putting my money where my mouth is. That is one of my Kaufman commission marketing cost reimbursement checks for $12,000 because I paid $12,000 up front for marketing. And if it didn't sell, I was eating that $12,000. So I can tell you guys as listeners just how intimately bad it feels if the auction doesn't go well. And on this particular auction, we didn't hit reserve, and I chose to sell still. And it gets better because the largest parcel, the highest bidder, the number one bidder, because we didn't hit reserve, they never signed a contract. They backed out, and we had to go to a backup bidder, which was $12,000 less than the other bidder. And I just say all this to say, because it's not, Aaron wasn't even it's no one in Kaufman's fault. I'm not saying it's Kaufman's fault. It's painting the picture of what he's saying is that everything lies when the gavel slams. It all lies right there on how did we do. The measurement of success is immediate or failure. It's immediate. Yep. It is. And so I have this is why I'm asking him this, because I have very, very, very mixed feelings with auctions. I've utilized auctions myself, seen them do great, seen them fall on their face. So it's not, it's not a magic button. It's not an easy button. There's a lot of work that goes into it. So I was curious to hear I'm guessing, Aaron, you're saying that, is it now 70-30, that it's 70% auctions? You said this now is about 70%, or what do you think?
No, I would say it's probably 60-40 right now for me. Like I am currently in the middle of a string of auctions. I've got 9 auctions between today and October 16th, I think is my last one.
Okay.
So I got a boatload of work lined up. Like September is going to be next level crazy for me because you've got ATE open houses on every one of them. So that's another night for every auction. You've got the auction day, the prep, all the callbacks. Mailers. Yep. Brochures. Like yesterday, I had 4 brochures come through to get proofed. And so you have to go through with them. And like I said, did I tell you that detail is not my cup of tea? Well,
me neither. I'm yep, looks good.
Yep, looks good. And then you send it out, and the first guy that calls you is like, hey, what's with this? This parcel doesn't match the acreage. Which is it? And I'm like, well, that was me. And now we've printed, I don't know how many thousand flyers because we've got roughly 6,000 to 7,000 mailers that go out, I think, on these auctions, something like that. And so that is something that, but that's what we got coming up in September. it looks, I mean, you have to, just like you eat an elephant, you got to eat it one bite at a time, because it does look overwhelming at times. And that's why I've got Michael, helping with signs, and he does a great job, by the way. I need to shout him out, because he's young, he's energetic, he can just get out. And I get burned out like 2-3 days in a row. I'm coming home at 7-8 o'clock. The next day I'm like, I'm not moving until till noon. Like it's
ditto, dude, ditto.
Yeah.
And it's scary because it's land. Like, I don't know if you've had this for yourself. I'm sure you have. You've been doing this longer than me, but there's days that I'm like, I think the other day my buddy was like, have you seen all these deer that we have on camera at such and such farm? And I'm like, dude, at this point I am tired. I don't even care. It's $1. Like, and it's like, well, how do you get to that place? Like, cause I'm doing dirt every day, all day till 9 PM. I don't care right now. Like I'm Aaron, full transparency. My listeners are going to be like, are you serious? I'm more excited about Saturday's Ohio State, Texas game than opening day of bow season. And I have some mega giants to hunt. And it's just because I love college football. And I think it's because it's a change of pace of what we do every day to grind. Yeah, like, I like college football. It's different than hunting.
I'm looking forward to it as well. Like, I like football too.
I'm torn up with like what's going to happen. So I don't know. It's just funny. I'm the same way. It's good to hear you say that. I get burned out.
But going back to Michael again, like, he does a lot of my runaround stuff. And then he's a realtor as well. So he has the ability to go out and do deals, and he does. He's having his best year ever. He works for me for a small salary, but then he is doing his own stuff as well on the side. And then he puts up all our auction signs, or most of them.
Yep.
And so he's created a nice little niche for himself. And I would be pretty lost without him helping me, because he is much better with the social media stuff. And if you see stuff that looks good out there, it's his fault. Now, with that being in mind, saying that and keeping that in mind, Chris Miller, our photographer, he's the guy that flies the drones and makes the magic happen, makes the pictures pop, does the editing, all that stuff. And then, of course, if I keep going more, like Kevin Lehman is our managing broker here. He does a lot for us, helps us. Eli Troyer has taught me more about the auction industry than most people will ever. Eli knows more about auctions than most people will ever forget. Like, his background is the Airworks auction. His dad started that.
Okay.
So he's been around auctions his whole life. And he's like world champion, renowned bid caller. And so he does a lot of my real estate auctions for me. So I'm super thankful. The friendship and the partnership that we created back in 2021 when I came up here to Kidron is still in place today. It looks a little different as we moved on, and I got my auctioneer's license and things like that. We're more independent now than we've been in the last 4 years, but that was by design, so we can all grow.
Yep. Yeah, man. I mean, and that's I think in any successful business story or the trajectory or a long time path you study, the ability to successly pivot forward is what usually separates people, and I would say fail forward. So it makes total sense. So Aaron, I'm going to put you on the spot here, because this is going to be my last question. Here's where we're camping out last. Besides, if you guys want to get a hold of Aaron, I will take 10% commission on every buyer that comes through.
I bet you will.
Here's the question we're going to talk about, and I'm wrestling with this myself, and I'm sure my listeners and viewers have thought of this as well. I noticed something that you guys do a lot of that I'm still trying to become comfortable with, and it is parceling these properties down. And you've mentioned it a few times, so I'm putting you on the spot, Aaron. I got into the land space because I'm a hunter. And to me, when I see parcels that are, and by the way, the auction we just did with Kaufman was 137 acres, and we sold it in 5 parcels, and they all became 20 plus acres. Right. So no one say I'm trying to crucify Aaron here without knowing I've done this. But what I'm wrestling with is, Why do you like parceling, and does it hurt your feelings? Yeah. Why do you like parceling? And, and I guess I'll say it this way, Aaron. Why do you like parceling? And then in 25 years, when your grandkids are now owning land and they're owning farms, and they come to you and they say, Papa, you can't buy a big tract here anymore. These people came through and they just split everything up and diced it as much as they could to get as much money as they could. I'm just painting the scenario. They got greedy and they stripped every ounce of road frontage they had and cut the weirdest looking driveways to carve off 12 acres on a hillside so they're greedy. And they say, Papa, you can't buy a 100-acre farm anymore because it's all been split up. What do you say to that, Aaron? Because I'm wrestling with this.
That's a really, really good question.
And I'm just giving perspective because I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. So
okay. So we get that every now and then, like we'll have a farm parceled up and a neighbor will walk up to us at the auction, before the auction, and be like your typical guy with the bib overalls. And, he'll be like, you can see that he's just got a bone to take with you for a minute.
Peace of mind.
Yep. He goes, just why in the world would you parcel that up like that? That's ridiculous. Like you can't, what are you doing?
You're ruining it.
Yep. You're ruining it. And the shortest and the easiest answer for me is to just say, well, it is our job in this industry to tell our sellers what we feel, and it's not always right, but what we feel is the very best way to maximize your profits on your property. And we take the analogy of a pie, and I've heard Eli Troyer explain this 57 times to a seller. Be like, well, if you take the analogy of a pie, there's not a lot of people maybe that can buy the whole pie, but they can each buy a slice.
Yep.
And so if we take 100 acres and we do for example, right now, I've got 168 acres coming up in Newcomerstown, Coshocton County, September 10th. Yes, I put a plug in. It's a really, really nice farm. I did. Unashamedly, I put a plug in for that one.
Hey, let's go. Go visit legacyacresland.com. All right, we both did it. Come on.
Yep. 168 acres close to Newcomerstown. It's got open mineral rights. It's got a lot going for it. There was plenty of road frontage there. We could have probably chopped it into 6 or 7 pieces if we wanted to.
Yeah.
We elected to do a 5-acre building parcel, a 24-acre parcel that wraps around the back of the 5 acres, and then a 64-acre hunting parcel and a 78-acre hunting parcel. So there is room there for somebody to buy it and to reparcel it if they want to. But that was a choice that me and the seller made together. We felt we're giving that young couple the chance to buy the 5 acres. We're also allowing the hunter investor to come in and buy it together if they want to.
Yeah.
Now, that might not, it basically boils down to this. It's about the money.
Yeah.
People want to maximize their money. Because if we sold that 168 acres as one parcel, I will guarantee you, if we didn't offer it in parcels and we offered it only as one parcel, I will guarantee you somebody would have bought it, and in the next year they would have split it and took it to market to make money.
And they would have bought it for much less. It wouldn't go for as much as what you're parceling it for. So, and I'm going to make an argument for both sides, Aaron. So I'm not just putting you on trial here. No, I'll let you finish your thoughts, but I'm gonna make an argument for how I've been wrestling with this as well, just to because I don't know where I'm at with it. By the way, for my listeners, I mean we're bringing some smaller stuff to the market as well. I've got a 30-acre parcel in Morgan County. We're cutting it in half. It's got Wayne National on both sides of it. It's got 2 cabin sites. It's got frontage. It's got everything that can be 2 15-acre mini farm, Wayne National, pads, headquarters. All right, so it comes down to money for you, which I understand. You have a duty and an obligation to try and get the best result for the seller. So there's 2 ideologies that I would that I will say I'm wrestling with. I'm interested in your thoughts on these. So the hunter in me wants the farm to stay, by the way, I've got 500 acres I've got for sale in Jackson, Ohio. It's a beautiful farm. You want to talk about frontage? Aaron, I have frontage for days. I have frontage that our dear friends that I won't mention that split farms up would die for all the frontage I have. And it's not to say that we wouldn't offer it in some parcels in the future, but I have spent 5 years manicuring that farm as a whitetail manager, had 2 wildlife consultant plans done on it. I've had hours and hours of blood, sweat, and tears and money poured into making this 500 acres whole, organic, holistic, its own thing. Well, it's $2.5 million. And, even Aaron would probably say that's a really good price for this, property. Well, it's $2.5 million. And we all know that the average buyer isn't going to pay. They just don't have that to spend on a secondary property. So I understand we're in an incredibly small buyer's pool. So my wrestle with bringing properties to the market in smaller parcels is this. Number one, I wrestle with what you just said, that if I would sell that farm as 500 acres, the only way that I could ever, and by the way, this is just verbal processing for you listeners. Sure. I'm not giving you a black and white whiteboard here. This is verbal processing. Please, if you're watching this on YouTube, comment. You listen to this on Apple Podcasts or wherever, send us a message. Here's the problem that Aaron's right about is if I sold it as 500 acres, there's only one way for me to guarantee that someone wouldn't buy it to split that 500 acres, and it's called a deed restriction. And Aaron would tell you and agree with me that, let's say, and I'm going to get really granular and deep here for our listeners. If we said, all right, we're going to sell it, but we want to sell it to Aaron Miller only if Aaron Miller promises he won't ever parcel it. The only way we can get him to promise that legally and have any binding effect on him making a spit handshake in a parking lot is a deed restriction. We could place a deed restriction on the property that would not allow it to be parceled or not allow it to be cut. There's all these things you can put in a deed restriction. Here's the problem. No buyer is going to buy that farm with that deed restriction on it. None, zero, zilch. So the heroic effort that somebody might try to nail me to the cross and say, well, you're going to start parceling farms and you're just part of the problem. You and Kaufman splitting left and right. Okay. I hear you. All right. So let's be heroic and say, you know what? You're right, Mr. Griper overall wearing guy that won't ever actually buy from us. You're right. Well, I'm going to place deed restrictions on my farms. Well, guess what? The farms just became worth less. So now we have a problem because they're worth less. Well, why does that matter? Here's why it matters. Because when Aaron and I go to a seller and we try to tell them what we want to do or how we're going to do something, or I'm going to make them a cash offer, he's going to offer to list it or auction it or whatever. You know what that seller's going to say? The first time they say something, they're going to say, well, we just know that the neighbor's property just sold for X. We know that did you see that property down on 681? Mm-hmm. That property sold. They got $700,000 for 30 acres down there. And they're going to rattle off all this stuff that just happened. Okay. And guess what they want? They want the same amount. They want the same price for their property. Well, you know what I have to tell them? Well, they parceled that, Kaufman, the big bad Kaufmans, those wolves, they went in there, those snakes and vultures went in there and parceled that thing to death to get the 30, to get that 30 acres to sell for $700,000. I'm just being, silly here. That's what they did, Mr. Seller. So we've got to parcel yours as well, or you've got to say, no, I want to only sell it as 30 acres as a holistic parcel. And that's all I want to do, which is great, but you can't expect to get the 700 they got because they got it by doing X and Y, XYZ here. Me. All right. You don't want me to buy it because I would then split it up. Right. Or you don't want Kaufman to auction because then we would split it up. Well, if you want the price that they got for it just now, I have to be able and willing to do what they did to get that price. So I can't substantiate your asking price if you won't allow the same thing to happen. And I don't know if I'm being clear enough here in this brain dump of my verbal processing, but this is the problem. Let's say I'm a seller, which I am. I own this 500 acre farm. My parents own this farm, but let's say I'm the seller. And you say, you want to buy it, but you're going to go split it up. Well, I don't like that. I don't want you to split it up because I like it how it's big right now. I don't want you to split it up. So then I'm going to put a deed restriction on you. Well, now you're not buying it, number one. And number two, I can't control if you go and split it up in the future and get more money for it. I can't control that. So I have to be willing to know, either I have to be willing to say, I went to bed at night, I earned my own pillow by selling this farm whole to Aaron Miller, and then Aaron goes and does what he does. That my conscience is clear if Aaron does what he does. That's ideology number one. I got a whole nother one, Aaron. This is the other one that I can't figure out. And you know, to put a bow on ideology number one here, to close that loop for anybody listening still. What do you do? What do you do? Because everybody wants the best price they can get for their land when they're selling. So do you, by the way, when you buy a piece of land and you sell it, and you do too. So you can't yell at the neighbor because he got X, and you're going to magically want it too. So if I go buy a piece of property and I sell it for X and make a ton of money, and you hate that I just did that, guess what is your comp in a year when you decide to sell yours? My sale that you just complained about is your comp. So it's weird because there's everyone's losing. Everyone loses in the hatred, deal. Then there's this other one. This is a far other latitude. Here's my biggest wrestle, Aaron. You got a big family. You got 6 kids, and they have some kids, and they want to have what we will both say is the American dream of owning land. The problem that I have is, like, my wife and I, we're working really, 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 really hard, just like Aaron and his wife. We're working really hard, and we have been working really hard to go own land that most people at our age won't own. We're doing things that most people at our age won't do so that we can live like most people our age won't live. Go Dave Ramsey. What do I mean? What do I mean? Well, I'm going to spend more money on land to own that land than what you might ever want to spend or be able to spend to own land. And I'm not tooting my horn. I'm saying that the access to land is so tough right now for the middle income class, or that average early 20s, early 20s, late 20s, early 30s, young married couple. If Aaron doesn't go split that property and offer them a 24-acre parcel out of that 100-acre farm, or Tyler doesn't go split that property in Morgan County and offer it as a 15, that couple can't afford the 100-acre property. They'll never buy it. And if our goal as stewards of land, and Aaron's goal and my goal and anybody as believers and as God's children, if our goal is to be good stewards of the land and provide opportunities for the next generation, how are we helping them if we never give them a product they can buy? How are we helping them? And that's the wrestle I have there. And it's not, people aren't going to believe me when I say this. It's not just the money to me. Yes, I get it. You can make more money by parceling. Yeah. I'm with you. Like, cool. Everybody loves more money. But I wrestle with, if I don't parcel it and it stays as a 300-acre farm, and the only guy who buys it, and I'm going to paint an avatar right now because this is what happens. And if you're a New York bow hunter, hear me out. But your New York bow hunter, or your North Carolina bow hunter, or your Pennsylvania bow hunter comes to Ohio and they buy 200 acres to hunt on. That's what they buy. And they buy corn and they bait and they do what we all do. We all do this. Okay. I'm not throwing anyone under the bus. I do the same thing. That's your only buyer avatar if you keep that farm big. If it's out, like you just said, in BFE, Athens County or Meigs County, or at Washington County, Noble, whatever, Holmes County. If it's a random farm in the middle of nowhere, your only buyer is an in-state diehard hunter, or what we both would say arguably is the bigger buyer these days in Ohio is an out-of-state diehard hunter. Well, as long as that's what you're okay with, that's the only buyer that will buy your farm if you keep it as 300 acres, Aaron opens up a ton more buyers if he brings that 300 acres to the market in 20s. This is my thing. You can love it or you can hate it. I don't know where I stand on it, because I was that 20-year-old young married couple. We got married at 20 as well, Aaron. I was that young married couple that bought 41 acres in West Virginia before I moved here. By the grace of God, we bought it for $110,000 before we moved here. And it was beautiful property, beautiful, beautiful property. Well, I'm going to make the argument, and I will finally shut up too, Aaron. See, we're getting going here. I'm going to make the argument that most people wouldn't have spent $110,000 on land while they already live in a house on other land, or wherever they already live somewhere. Most people in their mid 20s wouldn't spend $110,000 on land. And most people, so I'm already doing something most won't, but what if I had gotten 10 acres for $30,000? Most people will do that. So how are we really helping, right, the American dream be accomplished if what we only want to provide is the 300-acre dream farm?
Dude, for out of state. Well, I mean,
so that's my wrestle, man. It's not black and white. I really, truly am wrestling with this. I really am.
Because it's both sides of the spectrum are correct, and they're, it can work, but it's just, yeah, I agree where, if we split, then we are able to, to provide more possible home sites, more hunting tracts for the person that can't afford the $1 million farm.
Yep.
The nice thing about it is the way we offer it is if there's a guy there that wants to buy the whole thing together, then they can.
Sure.
It can still go together. It just depends on, how big a boy you are. That's what it comes down to.
So really, we could leave this as a, and this is what's the beautiful part about God's kingdom is, there's no wrong answer. There is in sin, but let's just say in real estate, there's no wrong answer. But we could leave this as a, it's an open debate, because what I believe Aaron and them, what they do, Kaufman and I'm there, what parceling farms and bringing that to the market in multiple parcels at an auction isn't, overly sexy. It's just a good strategy. It's not like they coined it. It's not, their proprietary deal, but, I guess I would just caution people to be so quick to say, oh, I hate seeing that happen. Cause I get that. I'm in that campus. Like, I hate seeing that 300-acre farm go to 20-acre tracts, cause it'll never go back to 300 acres. Once it goes to 20s, it'll never go back. Usually it never does. I'm with you. What I choose to try and believe and trust God in is that those 20-acre parcels are basically could be my daughters buying that to build their own mini farm to raise their kids in the outdoors. Like, we want to teach and pray and tout that people should be raising their kids out in the farm. Well, they can't buy one if you only want them to buy 300 acres. They can't buy one today.
Yep.
So
that's a good point.
That's
just
a hard,
really good point.
It's just a hard thing for me to say that I'm going to die on this hill of, cause what I'm wrestling with, Aaron, like, listeners may say, what are you wrestling with? I'm wrestling with, do I split farms? Cause I don't like to split farms. I'm wrestling with it because I'm a hunter and I'm an outdoorsman and I want you to buy 100 acres and I want to set it up for hunting as 100 acres. Well, it's becoming $5,000 to $10,000 an acre in Ohio on the average to do that. Yeah. And that means you're trying to get a guy to spend $1 million just as a bow hunter to buy a piece of land for me to be successful.
It can happen.
Sure.
But
it's incredibly small bar.
Harder and harder for that to happen because the guy making I don't know, what is the median income in Ohio right now? 70 grand. Like, if he's got a house that he's paying for a 20-year mortgage, I mean, good grief, he's not going to be able to spend $750,000 on 100 acres. But now he can buy 25 acres and take his kids hunting on the 25 acres, put up a little cabin, spend time in the outdoors.
Yep.
And that's just where I've come to just, the first thing that I do when people ask me like that, I'm just usually like, well, how many acres do you have? 100 acres. Well, would you want me to sell yours as a whole so somebody can later go split it up and actually make more money? Or, and it's like, so I just kind of come to that realization.
Well, hey, honestly, it's a food for thought. It's a great talking point.
It's good. Yeah.
Somebody comment, call Aaron, actually egg his house, do whatever you feel like, if you don't like it. But I truly am wrestling with it. I really am, especially from the hunting perspective of, I'm not stupid. If we take a 100-acre farm and we split it into 20s, now you've got 5 times the hunting pressure that you would have if you sold it as 100. It depends on if the guy has kids and, all things normal here. Some person buys 100 acres, they can control the pressure a lot less than if there's 5 20-acre neighbors. But I get that. I do. I really do. But it's like, are we really being stewards and benefiting the greater public if we don't offer what they can afford? It goes back to, Aaron, our favorite old statement, if you can't feed them, don't breed them. Well, we're all just having too many kids, and these kids need to be able to buy land and have land. And if you're going to give your kids 100 acres, go you. Me too. Like me, go you. But I'm not trying to only work with that avatar because that's not going to feed my family through this process. It's just not.
I know.
Anyways, this has been fun, dude. We have to wrap up because I have to go spray food plots and pray and do a rain dance and trim limbs and move cameras and grit my teeth for Ohio State and Texas.
Yeah, I hear you,
Aaron.
Hey, it has been absolutely. It's been a blast, man. I really enjoyed it.
I want to go to lunch. We're gonna have to get together in person.
There's so many more things I could say about how we do business or whatever. But the bottom line is, we just take each phone call and we start from the bottom up, and we try to take care of our clients.
Yep.
And it's all about the client's experience. Do we get it right every time? No, we don't. Are we human? You bet we are, and I am for sure.
Yeah.
But we've had great success, and I'm this star that I wear. I'm pretty proud of the fact that I'm part of the Kaufman team here, and that's what we are. We are a team. We're rooting for each other. So
tell us this, Aaron. Two easy questions. What's your service area, and how do people get a hold of you?
Service area would be I prefer to stay within 2 hours of Kidron, and that can reach down
what counties if people are
I go down to Washington. I don't very often go to Athens or Meigs or something like that. I might pass a lead on to another agent down in that area or something. But the thing of it is, you have to be able to service the parcels that you're responsible for. And I'll do stuff, basically anywhere in Ohio if it makes sense. But sometimes it doesn't make sense, and I don't want to take a project that I can't take care of. So I would say 2.5 hours in every direction from here. That could be north. That can be Middlefield. It can be over towards Pennsylvania. It can be west. It can be south. That's kind of the areas that we service. And we've got, our photographer, goodness, he's been burning up the miles on his car, to go here, to go there, take pictures. So that, and then how to get a hold of me is simply, you can call me. My phone number is 330-473-7359. You can email me at aaron@kaufmanrealty.com. That's with 2 A's, and Kaufman is spelled with 1 F, which is a lot of times if I don't get an email, it's because somebody put 2 F's in there.
Yep.
And then social media. Aaron.Miller Realtor is my Instagram. Just the Aaron Miller Real Estate Agent or Realtor, I think, is one of my Facebooks. And then just Aaron Miller. I have a personal Facebook, and I know people are like, oh, you can't do that. Well, I put all kinds of stuff on there. So, or just call the Kidron office here and ask for me. That number is 330-857-7777. And we'll be happy to come out, look at your property, give you an honest assessment of what we can do for you. That includes personal property, real estate, homes, land, you name it.
Yep.
We try to offer full service.
I can attest they do. Go to their website. If it is something that has a pulse or doesn't, they will sell it. So I can promise you that. So Aaron, this has been awesome. I want to go to lunch with you and Michael. Just yell at me when I'm in Columbus. So yell at me when you're far enough. If you're down in Zanesville or wherever. Absolutely. I got a property in Guernsey County I want to send to you. I just put under contract. And just curious of your opinion. So if you're a listener here, I got a 20 in Guernsey. It's already got a cabin on it. It's a nice one. So you can't have Aaron represent you. I won't pay him a commission on this one. Sorry, you can't do that. You can't triple dip, but you can double.
Yeah.
This has been fun, man. Tell Michael that we'll bring him on next time. And if you guys have listened long enough, thank you for checking out episode 23 of the Legacy Through Land podcast. Let's go do some dirt, my man. We're out.
Okay.
See you guys next week.
Take care. We'll see you.
And that's going to wrap up this week's episode. If you're finding value in this content, we'd love to hear from you. It'd mean a lot if you could share with us how this podcast is helping you on your journey and let us know of any topics you'd like us to cover in the future. Be sure to connect with us on all social platforms at Legacy Acres Land Co. and subscribe to stay updated on when new episodes drop. We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of the Legacy Through Land podcast, and we'll see you next week.